Hello champions. So in this section we would be discussing about and understanding what are actual emotions, and then there are three different terms that would be looking after separately in order to understand that actually what is stress, then comes anxiety and fear. So these are the three basic parts of emotion that we would be discussing here. So let's start off with emotions. So what are basically emotions? So emotions are certain kinds of chemicals and composition that arise in our mind, and there are certain chemical juices that actually help us feel about something. I guess these emotions are very necessary in our lives, and they actually help us understand and have meaning in life. So there are definitely lots of different emotions, and today we will be talking about these three that are relevant in today's COVID-19 suffered market, and especially when it comes to our unemployment or employment needs. These are the three that actually arise there. So now we are going to actually scale these in the point in a scale of 1, 2 and 3. So first of all, there comes is stress. So if you look at it as a scale, so there is the stress. The second one comes in the anxiety stage, and after anxiety, when it crosses a certain threshold, it goes towards fear or panic attacks. So let's talk about stress. So for example, when you are unemployed, you need some financial resources. Certain type of stress is important in our life that actually helps us in order to get to do stuff, right? So basic stress of not having a financial resource, you would be saying that I actually want to apply for a job. So that mild stress is good for you. So that mild stress would actually motivate you in order to act and do something. So when, for example, let's talk about this with an example. So you are thinking to apply for a job, like you need some financial resources and you are feeling stressful. So you are feeling a bit stressful and you go on and you start applying for CV at different places. You actually make a resume or a CV and you start distributing it to different places. So what happens that with a period of time, what happens that you actually do not get that job position, or you get a lot of rejections, right? So what would be happening that the lot of stress would be when increasing from a certain threshold, you would be feeling a lot of stress, and that is the point in a long-term scenario, you would be feeling anxiety. At that point, you would be thinking that you would be feeling overwhelmed, and there sometimes you would be feeling restlessness, and you would be feeling that I actually cannot do that, or I'm not capable enough in order to go and get that job. So that is the scenario that we actually face in today's world. So controlling our anxiety is the part that actually helps us to get motivated a lot. So if you are in the phase of anxiety, don't worry. In our third lecture, we will be talking about the growth mindset. There we would be discussing about some tips that are going to help us in order to cope up with our anxiety. So now when you are having an anxiety, there is a point that you have applied to different places, you are not feeling satisfied with yourself. So there comes a point that you stop applying and you stop thinking about that dream job. That is the point where you go across the limit of anxiety and you move on towards the panic attack, or you move towards the fear. So now what is fear? Basically, fear is a thing that is the last phase when it comes to withdrawal and getting ourselves out of certain situations. So what happens that we start thinking that okay, I am not capable enough and I would not be applying for a certain job, and you start giving up on your dream, and you start to develop a fear of failure. That is one of the things that actually helps us, or that actually promotes our behavior towards not applying for your dream job and giving up on your dream job. So this is the part that fear arises, and this is the last stage where we're talking about. So stress, then comes the fear by the end of by crossing the anxiety threshold. So here we have to understand that a lot of things happen here, and the emotions are certainly developed in our mind. So regardless of thinking that the point that okay, if I am applying for a certain job and I am not getting that job response, so I am not capable enough, that is not the actual thought that you have to bring in your mind, because our minds are very important, and they have a lot of power in terms of developing negative thoughts and negative emotions to the point where they develop a positive thought and emotion. So what we have to do, we have to think about the point that either what kind of improvement we need at this point. So you know, when a lot of us, when we send our CVs and resumes at different places, we get rejections, right? And we just leave that. So what we have to do, whenever you send a resume online or you give an in-person drop and someone says that you are we haven't hired you yet, so what you have to do is you actually go there and talk to them and say that kindly could you be able to give me some feedback so that I can understand that what are the improvements that I can have in terms of developing a resume or a CV for in order to develop that professionally and send it somewhere else in future. So this is how we are going to understand the point that we can develop a positive mindset by learning instead of feeling and understanding and having fear that we cannot do that, because everyone has the capacity to achieve their dreams, and we will make sure that we do that by actually landing on our successful job.